Welcome to the Crazy Alchemist podcast, where alchemy, occultism, and strange history come alive.
The word for soul meant breath. In every ancient language we can check, it meant breath. The Sumerians called it Z. The Egyptians called it Ba. In Sanskrit, it was atman. The Hebrews said nephesh. The Greeks said psyche. The Romans had two words for it, anima and spiritus. Both meant breath or wind. 6 unrelated language families, the same metaphor. No borrowing required because the observation behind it is universal. A living person breathes. A dead person does not. The breath that departs at death becomes the departing soul. But here is what most people do not realize. The soul as we understand it today, an immortal entity that survives death and faces judgment, is a late invention. The oldest texts tell a very different story. Long before anyone wrote a word for soul, humans were burying their dead with extraordinary care. At Sungir in Russia, roughly 34,000 years ago, someone buried a man and 2 adolescents with over 13,000 mammoth ivory beads. Each bead took about 45 minutes to carve. That is 10,000 hours of work placed in a grave. Functional spears lay alongside the bodies. Red ochre coated everything. You do not bury weapons with a body unless you believe that body will need them. The behavioral evidence from Sumir and dozens of other sites around the world is hard to read any other way. By at least 30,000 years ago, humans had some concept of existence after death. When writing appeared in southern Mesopotamia around 3200 BCE, the soul concept came with it. The Sumerian word Z, meaning breath and throat and soul, appears over 100 times in the surviving literary corpus. The oldest literary tablets come from Farah and Abu Salabik, dated to around 2600 to 2500 BCE. But the Sumerian afterlife was grim. In the text called Gilgamesh, Enkidu, and the Netherworld, Enkidu's ghost rises from the earth to tell Gilgamesh what it is like below. The dead eat dust. They sit in darkness. Those with many sons fare slightly better than those with none. The Sumerian underworld was not punishment, it was reduction, a fading. The Egyptians built something completely different. They developed the most detailed account of the soul in the ancient world, and they split it into parts. Ka was the vital force, a person's double. Ba was the personality that survived death, and Ak was the transfigured spirit formed when Ka and Ba united after death. Becoming an Ak was the entire point of Egyptian funerary religion. The pyramid texts carved in the burial chamber of the pharaoh Unas at Saqqara around 2350 BCE are the oldest extensive religious texts in the world. Some scholars believe they were composed centuries earlier, possibly as early as 3000 BCE. The spells free the king's soul from his body, guide him through the sky, name the gates and their guardians, and provide passwords for each. The cannibal hymn describes the pharaoh eating the gods to absorb their power. This was not gentle theology. And here is what sets Egypt apart from every other early civilization. The Egyptian afterlife was not grim. The dead king became a being of light, traveling with the sun god Ra across the sky. For most of recorded history, this optimistic vision was the exception. Everyone else expected dust. Then something changed. Between roughly 800 and 200 BCE, thinkers across the civilized world arrived at a new idea nearly simultaneously. The soul is immortal, and its fate after death depends on how you live. In India, the Upanishads declared Atman eternal and indestructible. In Persia, Zoroaster taught that every soul faces individual moral judgment at the Chinvat bridge. In Greece, the Orphic mysteries taught that the soul is divine, a fragment of Dionysus trapped in a mortal body. Pythagoras taught the transmigration of souls between bodies. In China, the dual soul concept crystallized. Hun, the spiritual soul that ascends to heaven, and Po, the earthly soul that returns to the ground. In Israel, ideas about resurrection entered Jewish thought, possibly under Persian influence during the Babylonian exile. Karl Jaspers called this period the Axial Age. Whether these developments were independent or connected through trade routes remains one of the great unsolved problems in intellectual history. The breath-soul equation almost certainly arose independently. The observation is too obvious and the languages too unrelated to require transmission. But the immortal soul is a different matter. When Pythagoras teaches transmigration in Greece and the Upanishads teach the same doctrine in India around the same period, and contact between these civilizations existed, the question of influence is legitimate. One pattern cuts across every tradition. The soul starts as a privilege of the powerful and gradually extends to everyone. In Egypt, only the pharaoh became an Akh. The coffin texts of the Middle Kingdom extended the spells to officials. By the New Kingdom, anyone who could afford a papyrus copy of the Book of the Dead had access. In Greece, the Homeric afterlife applied equally to everyone. Heroes and farmers alike went to Hades as shades. The mystery cults offered something better, but only to initiates. Plato made the immortal soul a feature of human nature. Christianity universalized it completely. The arc takes roughly 3,000 years. Breath becomes shade, shade becomes immortal spirit becomes universal birthright. There is one more thing worth noting. Across every tradition, from Siberian shamanism to the Tibetan Book of the Dead to the Orphic gold tablets buried in Italian graves, the same assumption holds. The dead need help. The soul does not automatically know where to go. The living provide guidance, whether that means 10,000 hours of ivory beads, spells carved into pyramid walls, passwords scratched onto gold leaf, or a llama reading instructions to a corpse. Someone standing at the boundary between life and death, offering provisions for a journey they cannot see. That may be the oldest continuous religious practice in human history, older than any specific theology about what the soul is or where it goes. If you enjoyed this, subscribe to the channel and leave a comment. We release new episodes on ancient mysteries, forgotten history, and the stranger corners of human belief. Until next time.
If you enjoyed today's episode, make sure to visit crazyalchemist.com for more intriguing content and follow Crazy Alchemist on Instagram and Facebook to stay connected.